And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley. What is up, everyone? We are back with a little more morning coffee. Myself and Robert Watson going through his book today, Ars Victorious. We are in chapter 20-something. It's called All In.
20-something.
20-something. I'll have to look. I didn't even look at it. All in 26.
26.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get through this one, and then we're gonna have to move on to the next one, aren't we?
That's it. I got to get the next one written. Oh, yeah, Lord. Okay.
Hopefully the next one is, it's a process, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's like the process of what do you got to do it again, and it's going to be easier the second time, hopefully. Well, I mean, it'll be the third time, right? Don't you have a novel you said that you're writing?
Mm-hmm. And the novel should be out this fall. I'm still, believe it or not, still grinding away at it. The one thing that happens in the edit phase of writing a book is it takes flipping forever.
Yeah.
Because you end up reading the book, because remember, a novel's not chapters, even though it is. It's a whole contiguous story. So you're trying to make sure that your story is perfectly fit across it. And so it really, when you're at 450 pages, you read it like 30 times all the way through. It's a lot.
It's got to get boring. It's got to get boring after a while, right? Oh.
Well, it does. And then the next breath, when you're done, you feel sad because you're leaving the characters because they're in your head.
Yeah.
So a little mix of both.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. If you have not yet, there is a link in my bio. You can go to Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley on YouTube. Subscribe, get in on the conversation. We got Nikki over there on the YouTube. Steffi over here on Thanks for hanging out with us. We are here live on TikTok as well as multiple other places, but you can come check it out. Make sure you go subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow it over there. We were talking about the shorts on YouTube, and it's kind of funny. There's no rhyme or reason. Usually it's when someone has an opinion about something that we had said, which is, why we do what we do. We want to hear what they have to say. And
absolutely,
we'll get thousands of views on one short, and then we'll get, couple hundred on another. So there's no rhyme or reason why they take off, but we appreciate you guys paying attention, subscribing, and
absolutely
all your comments and all that stuff. So, well, let's get into this chapter. Tell us a little bit about it.
So All In is a story that begins, as I told you once before, I had this phase where I was trying to break into the NFL. And so I kind of had to give up my dream of being a quarterback because a friend of mine who eventually ends up in the Hall of Fame says, listen, come play tight end for me. Well, the problem was I was 235 pounds, right? And 235-pound tight end pretty much gets thrown around. So I went into the off season with the intention of adding 25 pounds of muscle. Mm-hmm. So, and that's basically a lot of gym. So for me, I couldn't just add 25 pounds of muscle. I had to create a goal. So my workout partner and I decided our goal was going to be to bench 500 pounds, right? Bench north of 500 pounds. Don't ask why. You're young, you're stupid. It makes no sense, right?
Up until that point, though, what was the closest you got to 500 pounds? Because I'll tell you what, I'm not able to squat that much, but bench, that's insane.
Yeah. So, we work out with like 225, right? And 275, 3 1/4, right? But you're really not going much north of 400. But we decided that was the important goal, right? Yep. And the goal was to get down and to bench it twice. And so we had worked, and it was about 3 months of work. And we're kind of at that point where we're ready to go. And we got out there and we kind of repped through 225. And this is the first time I had seen 515 because that's what the number was with all the plates on the rack. And so in essence, what you don't realize is the bar bends.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because you have so much. So I had 3 spotters, one on each side, right, and one over me. And so I'm sitting there looking at the bar going, that's like a little Volkswagen, right? As far as weight is concerned.
How many plates is that? Is that 8 plates total? Or is that?
I think, what was it, like 40 something, but it was, I think it was 8. Yeah, it was just a staggering amount of weight that you're looking at. And so the bar had this little bend in it, right? Mm-hmm. Already on the rack. And so my strength coach was really great. He comes up to me, he says, "You got this. You got this. This piece of cake for you. You got this." And I'm like, okay. And the reality is you just can't get under that bar with any kind of other attitude than I've got this, because you're absolutely screwed if you don't, right?
Yep.
And so I get up to the bar and I've got this attitude of I'm all in. I got this, no problem. So my partner goes first. And so at 5:15, I mean, he's shaking the second rep, right? And he gets it up and I'm like, I got this, no problem. So I get under there, right? And I pop the weight off the bar and it comes down. Jesus, it was heavy. But that's okay. I blew it up, right? It came off my chest clean lift, and a second one clean lift. I mean, literally no shake at all. I blew it up off my chest, got it in the rack, got up and looked at my strength coach, and I said, never again. I'm never doing that crap again.
But did you instantly gain the 25 pounds?
Yeah, I said no. But I did actually get to 265. So I put on 30 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Right. So I got real big and I was real content with that. But I mean, I was thick at that point. Right. And unfortunately for me, and again, this is the tight end who has blocking responsibilities, right? I still don't have much of a, let's just call it ballast. Right. But we know what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
I do not have a natural blocker's body, right?
Yep.
Now I had this big chest and I could, deal with defensive ends, and that's who I had to deal with. I had to chip the defensive end or I had to deal with the outside linebacker, and crap, man, those guys they're huge. They're just huge. And so, the weight was, but the whole point of All In was you do have to reach a point in time, especially with some of the things that I've done, jumping out of airplanes, flying, all that kind of stuff. You're all in. There isn't any kind of like, let me go ahead and keep one foot on the dock and put one foot in the boat. That's just not going to work.
Right.
I mean, you are absolutely screwed if you get underneath that 515 pounds and do not approach it like, I've got this.
That's that swagger, though. Like, you think about that. We talk about Tom Brady a lot, like, in that cockiness and Michael Jordan. Like, that's what I see. Like, you can kind of see that stuff kind of just permeate off of those people.
Right.
They're not going to walk in there going, because if you walked in there going, I don't know, I mean, I might be able to do this, you're probably not going to do it because you don't have the confidence to push yourself so hard to make that happen. You got to have that. You got to be a little bit cocky in life.
Yeah, you really do. And you got to get this monster attitude. And I should put a disclaimer on this. Please, anybody who's watching this, do not try that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was 25 years old. I was in incredible shape. I had strength coach. I had a great partner. I had lots of spotters. I mean, come on, man. Please do not try this because it will tear you up. That is a lot of weight. Even the preparation for it.
Yeah. You got to have the right stuff in place to make that happen.
Because actually when I did it, my weight was, the weight I lifted that day was 200% of my body weight at that time. So that is asking a lot. Your normal is you're not supposed to do about 150 of your body weight, 150% of your body weight. You're not supposed to be up around 200. Yeah. And, your body just don't. Now I've got some weightlifters who are wonderful, who can live in that land. It's not me. That was a one-time occasion.
The funny thing about lifting weights that I don't know that some people understand is like there's a lot of geometry involved in it. So when you are a bigger person, like depending on the shape of your body, like how long your arms are, how thick your chest is, how like there's all these things that play into that. So when you're bench pressing 550 pounds, if you got arms that are super long, you got to go a lot longer. You got to get a lot more lever behind that to make that happen. And it was funny. I used to have a little buddy that would do, the guy who played guard next to me, he's actually he's in a picture up over here, but when I was a junior, he was a senior, and he decided that he was going to high step it into the end zone as a running back, and the coach got pissed at him and said, nope, now you're going to go play guard. And he got to play guard, and I was a tackle, and that little guy would jump on, he was probably 5'8", he'd jump on the bench press and he would do 300 pounds no problem, and here I am 6'3", 260 as a junior, And I had a hard time getting 2 plates off the rack. I'd go over there and squat a lot more, but you have that. He was, his arms were this long, and you guys can't see the short arms, and, as Nikki's saying, T-Rex arms, and he's just boom, 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 boom. And you're like, this is stupid. How's this guy stronger than me? I'm bigger. Doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And I'm 6'5". I was 6'5", 235 when I started in that, and I have very long arms.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so for me, it's a lift.
Yep.
And my training partner had shorter arms. He was 6 foot tall and shorter arms. So he really did have a little bit, and his build was more naturally squatty.
Yep.
So he had a much easier time with it than I did. But again, it was one of those things where I can honestly say I benched over 500 pounds.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remembered the story because one of my kids asked me about it. So that's why I put it in the book, because the attitude of being all in, when you get underneath that weight, and when I pushed that weight off the rack, right, I was all in.
Yeah.
I was going to give it 150% of my effort to get it off twice, right? You do things twice, so you have this concept called sequential verifiability, meaning if you do it twice, it's not a fluke.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you got to prove to yourself that you did. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like, if you think about it, like the first one, probably you don't know as much as you do in the second one. So you're in there in your, wow, that's 500 pounds. How fast is this coming down? Like you start to verify and think about the things that you're going to do on the next one. And it's probably, although you're a little bit more tired, probably a little bit cleaner lift the second time around anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It really, the second one was much more focused, much cleaner than the first one. The first one was just flat explosion.
Yep.
Because it's fear, right? It's just fear that's not going to come off my chest.
Right.
Right. Because down felt heavy.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you want to feel it. It feels heavy.
I'm just thinking, I'm just trying to imagine it myself, because I'm like, no.
Well, like I said, disclaimer, man, I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
You don't, because it will tear you. I had buddies that lifted heavy on the bench into their 40s, and it tore their shoulders up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoulders.
Yeah.
I feel that right now.
I know, all the creaky stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because you go out and you do, I think we talked about this last time. It's like you go out and you do all this stuff. Like I have 3 acres. I'm out here working on this damn thing all the time. And it's like, next thing you know, you feel everything. So
yeah,
it's, what did I do today? Because I didn't use that muscle yesterday or the last week or the last year.
Well, yeah, I was talking to my kids about doing push-ups, for example, because as a quarterback, I took all my impact on my left shoulder. Because in other words, if I was going to hit somebody or be hit, I turned away from my throwing shoulder all the time. So my left shoulder has more damage to it than my right. And so it gets creaky, right? Just like my hips do, and when I stand up, I sound like a skeleton, right? It's crap going pop, 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 pop as I stand up. I'm not in pain per se.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound good, right? It sounds like I don't have any cartilage anymore, and I don't have any oil, like the Tin Man, right? Somebody needs to hit the oil.
Yep. That's exactly how I feel. I'm sitting there thinking, like I had my knee replaced a couple years ago, and my left one is starting to feel great. And that's sarcasm, not great. And then my shoulder's creaking. Yeah. I'm like, I need to go get a shot of cortisone in this shoulder. I need to go get a shot of cortisone in this knee, add that oil back in there so that I can feel a little bit better and hopefully not damage the process.
I ended up later on closer to 40 partially tearing my ACL in my right. Okay. And so what happened was it wasn't a full tear. And so I talked to it was the Texans doctor, right? Mm-hmm. And he basically said, I can fix it. He said, but the problem is he said, you're still going to lose some of your mobility either way, whether I fix it or whether I don't.
Right.
He said it. And to be honest with you, you're probably going to be fine. He says, you're not playing competitively anymore. Live with it. So, I don't run even either now.
Yeah.
Because I don't have quite the same range of motion in my right as I do my left. And fortunately, I've made it to a ripe old age and have not had a replacement and or major surgery.
Well, it's
So I am
amazing because even
really
when they
blessed.
do that replacement, and I didn't know this until I was going in there to go get it done, I don't have an ACL in my replacement. Like they don't put one in there. So
No,
they
no.
take yours, they take yours out. You have the PCL still, but it's like you're sitting there thinking, I was a kinesiology major. I've watched these videos of people tearing their ACL and these athletes who can't play because they don't have an ACL, and here I am and I don't have one. How is this possible?
Yes. Yes. No, it's very true. And like we said, there's a lot of damage that's done to our body over the years that, but again, that's one of the commitments. Well, sorry, I can't get away from this without saying, do you know what the change in life expectancy is for an NFL player who played more than 7 years?
I'd say you probably lose 10 years.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about a dozen years off of life expectancy. And so when you talk about committing to what you're doing in life and being all in, you start realizing things have a cost, right? Everything has a cost. And so when you make that commitment to be all in it, anything, marriage, whatever, you really have to push away from the safety nets and stuff and say, no, this is what I'm going to live with. I'm going to live with the consequences. It's just the way it's going to go. But when you tell a 25-year-old that you're going to lose 10 years of life, the 25-year-old says, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, I got news for you. The 63-year-old is saying 10 years? Hold on. 10 what?
Yeah, it is crazy that the sacrifices that you made back then, that like you really don't think about it because you are, you're bulletproof at that point in
Yeah, you're
in your
immortal.
mind.
Yeah.
And now you are not.
Right.
Thanks everyone for joining us here on TikTok. I see we got a lot of people in here. We got the 1.2K taps. Thanks for liking this. Share it out. Come join us every morning. We've been doing this
Good
for
morning,
a while
Dory.
now. But we appreciate you being here. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. You do have to have that commitment. You do have, like we talked about, you do have to be a little bit more cocky. You have to be willing to, and it's in anything in life. It's not just sports, which we talk about sports a lot because that's where we get a lot of our passion drive from. But yeah, you have to be willing to do that. You have to be dialing in that process every single day and know that you are capable of doing it, and be a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky.
Yeah, you do have to believe. One of the things that I tell people all the time is, listen, you have to have the creativity, the capability, and the confidence to get things done, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the creativity, you're not adapting to the changing situation, right? And if you don't believe you have the capability, you're timid, right? You're withdrawn, you're not giving it 110%, and that bleeds immediately to your confidence.
Yep.
But if you have those 3 C's and you're working, because you do this every time you go in and make a sale, it's the same thing. You got to have that attitude of, I'll figure it out, right? I got this, right? And I just remember my strength coach whispering in my ear, you got this, right? That's all he, you got this. And he had been the guy in my ear for 3 months, pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. So when he says, you got this, I kind of believed him. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where life is. And so some of your self-talk has to be, I got this. No question. I'll overcome whatever obstacle it is.
You can't start anything if you don't have that confidence. I mean, that's all there is to it. Like there's a lot of people who are like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then when they get to it, if they don't have that confidence, then it's never going to happen. You have to know that you're capable.
Yeah. And so when you start talking about capabilities in the attitude of, that's why I warn people, please don't try this at home, right? Because you really need the physical capability. A 25-year-old is no problem. But if you're really trying to start powerlifting in your 40s, really, why?
Yep.
Can you find another objective, something that is less destructive?
Yeah, and it's funny because you think about that, like you look at some of these people and your life changes that, I mean,
Right.
You don't work out the same way today that you did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, because now it's a more of a function thing, right? Like you need to be able to work out. You need to do the things that you need to do in order to survive and continue moving. Not as powerful, but more in a, I'm lost for words right now, but more like you lift weights like you do cardio lifting. That's what it is. Like it's not strength
Yeah.
anymore. It's cardio. You do as much as you can to continue to keep yourself strong enough to make it happen.
Yeah, and that was the one thing about my strength coach was so good because he basically we were talking as we're going through this, and he says, "Listen, I'm going to give you a workout once you come down off this NFL pursuit that you can do into your 70s and 80s." He said, "And that's what you want to do when you come down off of this NFL push. You want to go to a workout that you can do for the rest of your life."
Yep.
He said, "You do not want to push your body just because you can," because he says the damage. He says, and this is him just being smart. He says the damage is way too much. Don't do
Yeah.
that to yourself.
And you see that, like you were talking about, like life expectancy after playing in the NFL, and I was sitting there thinking,
Right.
that's got to be different for Tom Brady than it is for like Jeff Saturday, who like an offensive lineman, because that guy is in a collision course every single game. But if you
Right.
look at like the reason why I bring up Jeff Saturday is like you look at Jeff Saturday when he was playing center for the Colts, and then you look at Jeff Saturday now, who is this fit, thin looking guy. He's not thin, but like he put on all this weight and did all these things so that he could survive, like you're trying to do as a tight end versus a quarterback. And if they can figure that out, he knew immediately when he had to stop, he had to drop all that weight and do all that stuff. And then you look at a guy like William Perry, who is still
Ooh.
a big guy, who is like probably,
Ooh.
I haven't seen him in a while, but probably wheelchair bound now at this point, because you just don't take the priority to drop that weight to put yourself in a position to live a lifelong, life.
Yeah, and then that's the thing is there has to be life after some of those things. And one of the things, like I said, he was so good about was giving me a workout plan that I could do for the rest of my life. But it's just like running. I started this run streak a little less than 10 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
My times are all over the place.
Yep.
What I was doing 10 years ago, I wouldn't even attempt today. Why? No point.
Yep.
Why do I want to put my body through that when I can simply just continue to streak, continue to feel good, have less injuries? What I had early on in my run streak was a lot more injuries. I have a lot less injuries now, right? Really hard to get through them. So the whole point you have to do in this is, you have to take things and remember that it's longevity and sustainability, right? Right?
Yep.
Sustainability in everything you do. Can I sustain this? Can I sustain this into my 60s and 70s?
Right.
Yeah. My doctor's, had my doctor's appointment last week, and he said, geez, remind me how old you are? He's literally sitting there looking at my chart. And I said, he said, both your parents are still alive? I said, yeah. He says, good genetics. I said, yes.
Yeah.
I won't lie. Yes, I've done good things. I've used the best that I could with what I was given. But come on, man. Both of my parents are still alive and well with no major issues.
Yeah. I mean, it's to me, it's amazing because I look at, and this will age us right here, but I mean, you're pretty close to the age of my father, and looking at my father versus looking at you is two different things, because it just, there's two different choices in the way that you take care of yourself. So
Right.
I'm guarantee you my dad's doctor is not saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
And
It's true though.
your dad's going to watch this going,
Yeah.
thanks, Wes.
He never watches it, so we're good.
I love it.
If he did, he'll listen to the first 5 seconds or watch the first 5 seconds. But it does, yeah.
Right.
But
right.
it's tough. Like I sit there and I think about that. Both his parents are gone. They, he's the youngest. So I think he's 65 and he's the youngest, and his mom was almost 100 when she passed away, and my grandfather was a couple years older than him. So, I mean, they lived a long time for the situation that they were having. But it's just like that's my main concern. It's my concern with myself too. It's like why I'm always thinking about my weight. That's the number one thing, and I need to do more about it as well. But it's one of those things when you get to that age, you want to be able to continue going. And if you And I think that a lot of it has to do with not only physically, because physically is a big part of it, but actually mentally as
Right.
well, keeping your head sharp, keeping always looking out for those things and always reading books and trying to learn more and doing all that stuff. Because if you just give up, you just kind of stop. And you see that happen with a lot of people, like when when one partner passes away and the other one is still there, like all of a sudden that person ages overnight because they've lost that drive to live because they missed that partner or they've lived their whole life with that person, and now all of a sudden they have to figure out who they are. And
Man, my parents passed within 29 days of each other.
yeah,
29 days. And it wasn't like my father who passed second. My father was out of it. He had no idea. But yet, strangely enough, he kind of knew she was gone.
yeah,
And I'm talking about my adoptive parents versus my biological parents, because I'm one of those people that has two sets of parents.
uh-huh.
I mean, it's just what I was adopted. So the people that raised me versus my biological parents, and I have the luxury of knowing both.
Yep.
My biological parents are still
Live
kicking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's been another great episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. Again, make sure you head over to the YouTube and subscribe, Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley. And we will be adding another channel to that at some point. Robert and I have been doing this for a while, and it's just life gets in the way of trying to rebrand, but we're working on it because I've been doing this on my own for quite a while and adding Robert as a co-host. And we will be back on Monday. Make sure you check out the sponsor. They don't like it when I say sponsor, so I just said it anyway. But go over to Magic Mind. This is a energy shot that they've been hooking me up with. It's really great. Has some nootropics on it. You drink it with your coffee. In addition to your coffee, it's a little supplement. You can head over to magicmind.com/WesT20. I need to have them change that code because it's hard for me to say that. They should say West20.
Exactly.
Everyone calls me West sometimes, or is your name Westley or whatever, But anyway, it is what it is. Go head over there to https magicmind.com/WesT20 and get 48% off your first subscription, 20% off a one-time purchase with that code. Also, check out Robert's book, R.S. Victorious. We'll have a little bit of an ad there. You can find it on Amazon. It's an awesome book. We would go through that on Wednesday, and he's going to have to write another one so we can continue going through that, or we're just going to keep talking about stuff that motivates you. Robert, thanks for
That's
hanging.
it.
You guys have a great day.
Y'all take care.